Things continue at the Emperor's palace. The elder Princess Giselot asks her subordinate what his excuse is going to be this time. Her subordinate explains to her that their plan to kill Charlotte only failed because a mysterious man who called himself the Dark Warrior, who they don't know is actually Haruto, intervened and killed those summoner mages. In addition, he tells Her Majesty that the Dark Warrior was recently spotted in the Gold Earl's domain, and there he reportedly hunted down many thieves and bandits. So that's why the blonde subordinate also believes that the Dark Warrior is the one who is protecting the Xanthus' family. But Giselot thinks that he should have just dealt with the obstacle in their path, and because he has failed to do so, she throws her wine at his face to insult him. She reminds him that this is the third time he has failed to assassinate the little girl Charlotte. Giselot reveals that she only wants to kill Charlotte because she believes that once Charlotte grows up, she will become a threat to her existence in the future because she is worthier to get the throne. And most importantly, unlike Giselot, Charlotte is of royal blood. Giselot realizes that her subordinates are useless, so she picks up her long sword and decides to go out on her own to deal with the Dark Warrior herself. She reveals that she also used this holy long sword to defeat the devil, and thanks to that, she was able to marry the king, who is now the ruler of the throne. So she thinks that the same sword will also help her achieve this goal. At that moment, an intruder comes there, and it is revealed that it is none other than the Dark Warrior, who uses his barrier magic to instantly force Giselot's subordinates to collapse. The elder princess is impressed to see that the Dark Warrior managed to cut through the security and was able to come here. The Dark Warrior tells her that breaking through her amateur traps and security was fairly easy. Giselot decides to punish him for getting in the way of her plans to kill Charlotte. So she contains 3 magic circles preparing to attack the Dark Warrior with a full blast, but the Dark Warrior doesn't notice that another magic circle is right beneath him, falls for the trap and gets locked inside an unbreakable water bubble. Giselot then smiles and tells the Dark Warrior that he is about to die in there by suffocation. However, the Dark Warrior Haruto is not going to die so easily, as it was even easy enough for a magic Lesmia Cairo to break through. If you understand the reference, hit subscribe. So the Dark Warrior breaks through her spell, so she follows up with another attack and launches hundreds of ice crystals at him. But the Dark Warrior easily blocks her attack using his barrier shield, so the elder princess realizes that she needs to use even more powerful magic. So she blasts him with her flame magic to burn him into ashes as the Dark Warrior finally falls to the ground. After that attack, Giselot starts to believe that she has won, but that's not the case as the Dark Warrior reveals himself to be unscathed by the attack and blasts her with his own magic. Giselot barely manages to block the attack and wonders how someone can be so monstrously strong. The Dark Warrior gets disappointed to see his attack failing, so he gets more serious and begins to fire more powerful magic at her. Giselot realizes that at this point her mana will run out if she keeps regenerating her shield, and believes that the Dark Warrior is even stronger than the Demon King. But she doesn't give up, lunges at the Dark Warrior for one last attack and gets ready to use her holy long sword against him. The Dark Warrior blocks her attack by bringing out his own mysterious black sword, and he begins trading slashes with her. However, he fails to overpower Giselot, as he is the strongest swordsman in the entire world. But the Dark Warrior reveals that he has only toyed with her, and he disarms her with ease. So after doing that, he proceeds to punish her and binds her neck with heavy shackles that force Giselot to fall to the ground. The Dark Warrior explains that if she tries to take it off, it will keep getting heavier and her head will remain on the ground forever, as it should. He then tells her that he doesn't care what she wants to do in this world and makes it clear to her that she cannot harm Gold Xanthus and his family from now on, as he claims to be their protector. He whispers to Giselot that her shakes will only come off if he forgives her for her wrongdoings, so he tells her to behave if she ever wants to get free. After that, he bids his goodbyes to the elder princess and leaves her palace. Giselot begins to laugh and cry at the same time as she begins to think of herself as a slave and wonders why things turned out like this for her. We then see that the Dark Warrior Haruto is going back with Flay. She commends him for his great work, but she tells him that he shouldn't have been so soft with her. Haruto explains that this was just a warning, and if he needs to fight her again, he will definitely kill her. Flay looks forward to it. Time moves forward 5 years to the time of winter, and we get to see that the province of Gold Xanthus is filled with endless snow. Charlotte, who has grown up a bit, gets excited to see the endless snow, and begins to enjoy herself. Haruto reveals to us that after he made his impression with the Princess Giselot, she never dared to interfere with the Zenphys's family again, and thanks to that, these past 5 years passed quickly with peace. Haruto gets cold from being outside for so long and also gets bored, but unlike him, Charlotte enjoys the season and makes a snowman. Whereas Flay creates a masterpiece by making the Zenphys castle with snow, but instead of seeing how great her art piece is, Haruto is more interested in Flay's exposed clothes and asks her if she isn't feeling cold in these clothes. Flay acts as if she is not cold, but she is actually shivering and is only wearing these clothes as Haruto apparently loves seeing her wearing them. Haruto decides to help her out, and using his magic, he transforms Flay's clothes into warm winter clothes. Flay finally feels relief from the cold and thanks her master for his help. Charlotte also wants Haruto to help her and requests that he help her make a perfect snowman. Although this is a stupid request and a waste of Haruto's time, he can't help but agree to do so as she is his little sister. So Haruto begins to transform the snow using her magic, but he goes too overboard and makes a giant hole in the ground. Gold and Natalia come there to have fun with their kids and get surprised to see a giant crater on the snowfields. Of course, they don't know that their son is the overpowered main character, so they begin to wonder what in the world caused this crater to appear. Haruto realizes that suspicion will eventually come to him, so he quickly summons a fake Dark Warrior clone behind him and tells Gold and Natalia that this guy is the reason behind the hole in the ground. But before Gold can say anything to him, the Dark Warrior quickly flies literally out of the planet. Haruto explains to Gold that the Dark Warrior happened to be passing by here, so he showed off some of his powers to them, and that caused the crater. Charlotte also agrees with Haruto's claim, so Gold lets it off and proceeds to play with his kids. After some time, Haruto asks Gold if he has sighted any unusual activities recently and learns that everything is going peacefully in their province. Gold expresses his gratitude as the elder Princess Giselot is no longer pursuing Charlotte, and reveals that Giselot has not even come to public for these past 5 years. He tells Haruto the rumor that claims that Giselot has a slave collar on her neck that she cannot get off, which is why she has stopped coming outside her palace. Haruto decides to return home as everyone is busy playing with snow, but Gold stops him, telling him that he has to go to a school in Wangdu after the winter ends. However, Haruto doesn't want to enter any school as it brought horror to him in his previous life. So he gets into depression knowing that he cannot go against his father's words and must attend school after the winter break. Later at the Zenphys's castle, Gold again tells Haruto that he has to go to the Magic Academy in Wangdu next season, but learn magic since he is already overpowered. Gold explains that Haruto has no choice but to enter the Magic Academy and shows him a letter that the king personally sent Gold. In the letter, the king apparently has personally invited Haruto to enter the Magic Academy, so he cannot refuse the orders of the king, as that would be the same as committing treason. Haruto wonders why the king took an interest in him, and Gold assumes it's probably because the Princess Marianne has taken a liking to him. Gold again tells Haruto of the possibility that maybe Giselot is behind the scenes and is orchestrating everything by making Marianne do this for some unknown scheme of hers, but that's just speculation, so Gold again tells Haruto to go out and see the world for himself for once. So Gold finally makes Haruto agree to go and tells him to take an adventurer, or in other words, a bodyguard with him. Haruto wonders who he should bring him, quickly cuts off Flay from his options, as he knows she will only cause him trouble. Gold proposes to help Haruto find his bodyguard, but Haruto explains that he wants to do it himself. At that moment, Haruto's mom, Natalia, enters the room and offers to be Haruto's encourage, but both Haruto and Gold reject her offer at the same time. Haruto explains to her that he cannot take her with him as that would be too weird. So he again begins to think about who he would take, and since he cannot think of anyone, he decides not to go to the school on call and tells his clone to attend it in his place. The clone understands why he needs to go there instead of Haruto, but since he is technically the same-minded person as Haruto, he refuses to go to the school as well. The clone realizes that Haruto wants him to go to the school to get him kicked out of the school, as unlike Haruto, his clone cannot use any magic, but Haruto explains that he must get expelled by failing to keep up with his studies. As if he does get expelled in other ways that would upset his father Gold, but the clone thinks that Haruto can just do it by himself. So Haruto explains that since he is short-tempered, he might engage in battle with some bad boys at the school, and that would expose his magic in front of everyone. The clone realizes that if the same thing happens to him, he will just have to get beaten up quietly, so he cannot bear to be Haruto's scapegoat anymore and breaks down crying. Haruto calms him down and promises to put an enchantment on him so that he doesn't get hurt by any attacks. So the clone finally agrees to do the task, as he has no other options, and they both shake hands, completing the deal. After the end of the winter season, the Xanthus family comes to a lakeside cottage across the hill from the castle. This cottage took 5 years to build, so Haruto is utilizing the place by having some alone time for himself there, as he is playing a game on his self-made game console. Charlotte and Flay comes to end his piece. While Flay cleans the room, Charlotte turns on an anime and watches one episode. She tells Haruto about her hardships and adds that she can longer binge anime life before because of her studies. And she is not even allowed to come to Haruto's room anymore, as she is now grown up. Haruto comes up with a solution to her problem and invents a teleportation magic so that she can again play with him. But he needs to test his magic first, so he decides to make his clone the scapegoat again and asks him to come through the teleportation gate. But the clone doesn't want to be his lab experiment, so he tells Haruto to do it himself. Flay doesn't like the clone's attitude, so she enters the teleportation gate and eats the clone out. Charlotte gets concerned seeing her fake brother being beaten up, so she asks him if he is okay. The clone feels glad that at least someone cares for him and calls Charlotte an angel, but then again everyone begins to ignore him, and Haruto proceeds to make a teleportation gate connecting to the castle. This time, the clone voluntarily uses it and goes back to his room to play some games in peace. That brings the episode to an end.